Nara stood by the tall window of her room and looked at the sky. The twin moons of her world hung low, glowing soft purple against the darkness. She had always loved this view. It made her feel calm. But tonight, nothing could calm her racing heart. The message had come 3 hours ago. Her father, High Counselor of the People, had called her to his chamber. She remembered how his silver-blue face looked sad when he told her the news. The Galactic Council had made a decision. To bring peace between thee and the humans of Earth, there would be a marriage, a political union, and Nara had been chosen. She was going to marry a human. Nara pressed her hand against the cold glass of the window. Her fingers trembled. She had never met a human before, but she had heard stories. Everyone on her world had heard stories. Humans were dangerous. They were violent. They had fought wars across the galaxy and won every single one. Their ships were covered in battle scars. Their soldiers never stopped fighting until their enemies were destroyed. And now she was supposed to marry one of them. She closed her eyes and tried to breathe slowly. As she had a gift that most other species did not have, she could feel the thoughts and emotions of others. Her people called it the inner sense. It allowed her to understand what someone was truly feeling, even if they tried to hide it. But this gift came with a price. Strong emotions from others could hurt her. Chaotic minds could overwhelm her own. And human minds, she had been told, were the most chaotic of all. The door behind her opened softly. Nara did not need to turn around to know who it was. She could feel her sister's gentle presence like a warm light in the darkness. Ah walked to her side and stood quietly for a moment. She was older than Nara by 5 years. Her face was calm and kind, and her silver hair fell past her shoulders like water. She had always been the strong one in the family. "You have not eaten," Ah said softly. "I am not hungry." Ah nodded slowly. She did not push. That was one of the things Nara loved about her sister. She always understood. "I know you are afraid," Ah said after a while. "I would be afraid too." Nara finally turned to look at her. "Have you seen the recordings, the ones from the human wars?" "Yes." "Then you know what they are capable of." Nara's voice shook. "They do not stop. They do not show mercy. They fight until everything is broken." Ah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Not all of them are soldiers, Nara." "It does not matter. Violence is in their blood. Everyone says so." Nara walked away from the window and sat on the edge of her bed. Her hands gripped the soft fabric beneath her. "And their minds. You know what the elders say. Human minds are storms. They feel everything so strongly. If I try to sense his thoughts, it could hurt me. It could break me." Ah sat beside her and took her hand. "You do not have to use your gift with him." "But I cannot turn it off completely. You know that." Nara felt tears forming in her eyes. "What if he is cruel? What if he sees me as nothing more than a prize, a political tool?" Her sister squeezed her hand gently. "Father would not let that happen." "Father had no choice. The council decided. The alliance needs this marriage, and I am the one they chose." Nara wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I am not a person to them. I am a symbol, a gift to keep the humans happy." Ah did not argue. She could not. They both knew it was true. For a long time the two sisters sat in silence. Outside, the moons moved slowly across the sky. Somewhere in the distance, night birds sang their soft songs. Finally, Ah spoke again. "His name is Ho." Nara looked up. "What?" "The human you are to marry. His name is Ho. He is an ambassador from Earth's United Coalition. Father told me." Nara repeated the name in her mind. Ho. It sounded strange on her tongue, foreign and sharp. She wondered what kind of man carried that name. Was he tall? Was he from battle? Did he smile, or were his eyes cold like the soldiers in the recordings? "He will arrive in 3 cycles, Ah continued. "There will be a formal meeting. You will have time to know him before the ceremony." "Time," Nara said bitterly. "What good is time? A few weeks will not change what he is." Ah stood and walked back to the window. The moonlight made her skin glow softly. Do you remember what Mother used to say before she passed? Nara felt a pain in her chest at the mention of their mother. She had died when Nara was still young, taken by an illness that no healer could cure. But her words had stayed with Nara all these years. She said that fear is a wall, Nara whispered, and walls can be broken. Yes, Ah turned to face her. Maybe this human will surprise you. Maybe he is not what the stories say. Nara wanted to believe that. She wanted to hope, but hope felt dangerous right now. Hope could lead to disappointment, and disappointment could lead to despair. I do not think I can do this, she admitted. Her voice was barely a whisper. Ah crossed the room and knelt in front of her. She took both of Nara's hands in hers and looked into her eyes with fierce love. You are stronger than you know, she said. You have survived things that would have broken others. You will survive this too, and I will be with you every step of the way. You are not alone, little sister. You will never be alone. Nara leaned forward and rested her head on Ah's shoulder. The tears came then, quiet and slow. She cried for her fear, for her lost freedom, for the future she had imagined that would never come to be. But somewhere deep inside her, beneath all the fear and sadness, a tiny spark remained. It was not hope, not yet. It was something smaller, something quieter. It was the simple will to survive. 3 cycles. That was how long she had before the human arrived. 3 cycles to prepare herself for whatever was coming. Nara lifted her head and wiped her tears. She looked at the moons one more time, then closed her eyes and made a silent promise to herself. She would face this, she would endure, and no matter what happened, she would not let them see her break. The human was coming, and she would be ready. The day arrived faster than Nara had expected. It felt like she had only blinked, and suddenly 3 cycles had passed. Now she stood on the balcony of her family's estate, watching the sky with her heart beating hard in her chest. The human ship appeared first as a small dot of light against the purple clouds. Then it grew larger and larger until Nara could see its shape clearly. It was not what she had expected. The ships in the war recordings had been dark and covered in weapons. This ship was different. It was white and smooth, with gentle curves and no visible weapons at all. It looked almost peaceful. But Nara did not let herself relax. Peaceful ships could still carry dangerous people. The ship landed on the wide stone platform at the front of the estate. Nara gripped the railing of the balcony and watched as the door slowly opened. Steam rose from the metal as it cooled in the morning air. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a figure stepped out. Nara held her breath. She had imagined many things: a giant warrior covered in scars, a cold soldier with dead eyes, a monster in human form. The man who walked down the ramp was none of those things. He was tall, yes, taller than most men. His hair was dark and cut short, and his skin was a warm brown color that looked strange to her eyes. He wore simple clothes, not armor. His face was calm, and his movements were slow and careful, like he was trying very hard not to frighten anyone. Behind her, Ah whispered, "He does not look like a warrior." Nara did not answer. She was too busy watching. Her father walked forward to greet the human. The man bowed deeply, his hands pressed together in front of his chest. It was the traditional greeting, the one used to show respect to elders. Nara had never seen a human do this before. She had never even heard of a human learning their customs. The official welcome took almost an hour. There were speeches and formal introductions. Nara was not required to attend this part, so she stayed on the balcony and watched from above. She saw the human shake hands with the council members. She saw him speak to the elders with his head bowed slightly, showing respect. She saw him smile at a young servant who brought him water, thanking her with a small nod. None of this matched the stories she had been told. Finally, the time came for them to meet. A servant led Nara to the great hall where the human was waiting. Her legs felt weak as she walked. Her hands were cold. She kept her eyes on the floor, afraid to look up. When she entered the hall, she felt his presence immediately. Even without trying, her inner sense reached toward him. She expected to feel a storm of chaotic emotions, a whirlwind of violence and anger. Instead, she felt stillness. It was like stepping into a quiet room after being in a noisy crowd. His mind was calm, controlled, almost peaceful. There was emotion there, she could sense it, but it was held back, contained on purpose, as if he was deliberately making himself calm for her. Nara was so surprised that she finally looked up. Ho stood across the hall, watching her. His eyes were dark and warm, and there was kindness in them. He did not stare at her the way she had feared. He did not look at her like she was a prize or a possession. He looked at her like she was a person, a real person with feelings and fears. He bowed again, just as deeply as he had bowed to her father. Then he spoke. "Lady Nara." His voice was soft and careful. He spoke her language slowly, like he had practiced the words many times. "It is my honor to meet you. I know this situation is difficult. I want you to know that I will do everything I can to make you feel comfortable." Nara did not know what to say. She had prepared herself for many things, but not for kindness, not for consideration. "Thank you," she managed to whisper. Ho nodded. He did not step closer to her. He kept his distance, giving her space. She realized he was doing this on purpose, trying not to overwhelm her. "I have heard that your people can sense emotions," he said. "I have been practicing meditation for 2 years, trying to calm my thoughts. I hope it helps." Nara stared at him. 2 years. He had spent 2 years learning to quiet his mind, just so he would not hurt her when they met. No one had ever done anything like that for her before. I felt it," she admitted. "Your mind, it is very quiet." A small smile appeared on his face. It was not a proud smile or a satisfied smile. It was gentle, almost relieved. "I am glad. I was worried it would not work." The conversation that followed was short and formal. Her father and the council members were watching, and there were rules to follow. But Nara barely heard the official words. Her mind kept returning to that moment of stillness she had felt from him, that deliberate, careful peace. When the meeting ended, Ho bowed to her one more time. "I hope we can talk again soon, Lady Nara, when there are fewer people watching." Nara nodded, not trusting herself to speak. As he walked away, Ah appeared at her side. "Well, what do you think?" Nara watched the human's back as he left the hall. He walked the same way he had walked off the ship, slow and careful, like he was trying not to disturb the air around him. "I do not understand," Nara said quietly. "He is not what I expected." "Is that a good thing?" Nara thought about the question. She thought about the stories she had heard all her life, the fear she had carried for so long. Then she thought about the quietness in his mind, the kindness in his eyes, the way he had bowed to her like she was someone worthy of respect. "I do not know yet," she admitted, "but perhaps it is not as bad as I feared." It was not trust, not yet, but it was a beginning. And for the first time since she had learned about the marriage, Nara felt the tiniest bit of hope. The first gift arrived on the morning after their meeting. Nara woke to find a small box on the table near her window. A servant told her that the human had brought it himself early in the morning before she had woken up. Inside the box was a plant. It was small, with delicate white flowers that seemed to glow faintly in the morning light. There was a note beside it, written in Nara's own language. The handwriting was clumsy, like a child's, but she could read the words clearly. "This is called a moonflower. It comes from my home on Earth. It only blooms at night under the light of the moon. I thought you might like it since your world has 2 moons. I hope it brings you peace." Nara read the note 3 times. Then she looked at the flower and touched one of its soft petals. It felt cool against her fingers, smooth and gentle. She did not know what to think. The second gift came 2 days later. It was a letter, written on real paper instead of a digital screen. Nara had never received a paper letter before. Her people had stopped using paper centuries ago. But humans, she learned, still valued old traditions. The letter was written in her language again, still clumsy but improving. Ho wrote about his home on Earth. He described the ocean near his childhood house, how it looked different every day depending on the weather. He told her about his mother, who had taught him to cook, and his father, who had taught him to be patient. He wrote about the stars he had seen during his travels across the galaxy, and how none of them were as beautiful as the twin moons of her world. At the end of the letter, he wrote, "I know you did not choose this. I know you are afraid. I just want you to know that I am not your enemy. I hope, with time, I can be your friend." Nara sat with the letter in her hands for a long time after she finished reading it. Something was shifting inside her, something she did not yet understand. Over the following weeks, the gifts continued. Some were small, like pressed flowers from distant planets or smooth stones with interesting colors. Some were larger, like a music player filled with soft human songs that Ho thought she might enjoy. Each gift came with a note, and each note revealed a little more about who he was. He was not what the stories said. He was not violent or cruel. He was thoughtful and careful. He paid attention to the small things. When Nara mentioned in passing that she liked the color blue, the next gift was wrapped in blue paper. When she said she found poetry beautiful, he sent her a book of human poems that he had translated himself, word by word. Ah noticed the change in Nara before Nara noticed it herself. "You are smiling more," Ah said one evening as they sat in the garden together. "Am I?" "Yes, and you check the door every morning, waiting for his next gift." Nara felt her face grow warm. "That is not true." Ah laughed softly. "You cannot lie to me, little sister. I have known you since you were born." Nara looked down at her hands. The moonflower sat in a pot beside her. It had grown since she received it, and its flowers glowed bright in the fading light. "He is different," she admitted quietly. "I do not understand him." "What is there to understand? Why is he doing all of this? The gifts, the letters, the kindness. What does he want from me?" Ah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Maybe he wants nothing. Maybe he is simply kind." Nara shook her head. "No one is simply kind. There is always a reason." "Is there?" Ah looked at her with gentle eyes. "When Mother was alive, she was kind to everyone she met, not because she wanted something, but because kindness was who she was. Perhaps this human is the same." Nara wanted to argue, but she could not find the words. She thought about all the things Ho had done since he arrived. He had bowed to the servants, thanked the guards, learned the names of everyone in the estate. He asked questions about culture and listened carefully to the answers. He never raised his voice or showed anger, even when some of the council members treated him coldly. And his mind remained calm. Every time Nara sensed his presence, she felt that same quiet stillness. It was not a mask, it was not an act, it was real. One day she found the courage to ask him about it. They were walking together in the garden, with Ah following at a respectful distance. The sun was setting, and the sky was painted in shades of orange and pink. "You have been so patient with me," Nara said. "Why?" Ho looked at her. His eyes were warm as always. "Because patience is the least I can offer you. You did not choose this marriage. The least I can do is give you time and space to feel safe. But you did not choose this either. You were sent here by your government, just like I was chosen by my council." He nodded slowly. "That is true, but when I learned about you, I made a choice. I chose to do everything I could to make this easier for you. That is my choice, and I am happy with it." Nara stopped walking. She turned to face him fully. "You studied our language for years. You learned to quiet your mind. You brought me gifts and wrote me letters. All of this takes so much effort. Why would you do all of this for someone you do not even know?" Ho was quiet for a long moment. The setting sun made his dark eyes glow with golden light. "Because you deserved it," he said simply. "Because fear should not be the first feeling between two people who are supposed to share a life together. I wanted to give you something else, something better." Nara felt tears forming in her eyes. She blinked them away quickly. "I do not know how to thank you," she whispered. Ho smiled, soft and gentle. "You do not need to thank me, just give me a chance. That is all I ask." Nara looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since he had arrived. She saw a man who was patient and kind, who had worked hard to understand her world, who had never once made her feel afraid. The cracks in her fear grew wider, and for the first time, she thought that maybe, just maybe, this marriage could become something more than a political arrangement. Maybe it could become something real. The trouble began with whispers. At first, Nara did not notice them. She was too busy with her new feelings, too distracted by the growing warmth she felt whenever Ho was near. But the whispers grew louder, and soon they became impossible to ignore. There were people on her world who did not want peace with the humans. They remembered the wars. They remembered the destruction. They believed that humans could never be trusted, that this marriage was a trap, that Nara was being sacrificed to satisfy monsters. These people called themselves the Pure Voice. They held meetings in secret places and spoke of rebellion. They spread stories about human cruelty, some true and some invented. They painted pictures of a future where humans would rule over where their children would be slaves, where their culture would be forgotten. And they hated Ho. Nara first learned about the Pure Voice from Ah. Her sister came to her room late one night, her face pale with worry. "There are protests in the city," Ah said. "They are calling for the marriage to be stopped. They say the human is a spy." Nara felt a chill run through her. Ho is not a spy. "I know that, you know that, but they do not care about truth. They care about fear." The protests grew worse over the following days. People gathered outside the estate, shouting angry words. Some carried signs with terrible pictures. Some threw rocks at the gates. The guards kept them back, but the anger was like a fire, spreading and growing. Nara was no longer allowed to walk in the garden. Her father said it was too dangerous. She had to stay inside, watching the chaos from her window. And through it all, Ho remained calm. He did not hide or run away. He continued his daily routines, meeting with council members and studying history. When Nara expressed concern for his safety, he simply smiled and said, "I have faced worse than angry crowds. I will be fine." But Nara could sense something beneath his calm surface. There was worry in his mind, not for himself, but for her. He was afraid that the protests would hurt her, that the hatred directed at him would spill over onto her. One evening, there was a formal event at the Great Hall. The council had organized it to show strength and unity in the face of the protests. Important people from across the world were invited. Nara wore her finest dress, silver and blue like the moons. Ho wore dark clothes in the human style, simple but elegant. They stood together at the front of the hall, facing the crowd of guests. Nara could feel the tension in the room. Some people looked at them with hope, others looked with suspicion, and a few looked with pure hatred. The speeches began. Council members spoke about peace and cooperation. They talked about a future where humans could live as friends. Nara tried to focus on the words, but something felt wrong. There was a strange energy in the room, a feeling of danger that made her skin prickle. She sensed it a moment before it happened. A figure moved in the crowd. A hand rose, holding something dark and metallic. Nara's inner sense screamed a warning. "Get down," someone shouted. But Nara was frozen. She could not move. All she could do was watch as the weapon pointed directly at her chest. Then Ho moved. He did not hesitate. He did not think. He simply threw himself in front of her, putting his body between her and the weapon. The shot fired with a sound like thunder. It struck Ho in the shoulder, and he fell backward into Nara's arms. The hall erupted into chaos. Guards rushed forward. People screamed and ran. The attacker was grabbed and pulled to the ground. But Nara saw none of this. All she could see was Ho, lying in her arms, his face twisted in pain. "No," she whispered. No, no, no. His blood was red, bright red, spreading across his dark clothes. It stained her silver dress, warm and wet. She pressed her hands against the wound, trying to stop the flow. "Why did you do that?" she cried. "Why?" Ho looked up at her. His face was pale, but his eyes were still warm. He tried to smile, but it came out as a grimace. "Could not let them hurt you," he managed to say. Nara felt her inner sense reach out without her control. It touched his mind, diving deeper than she had ever gone before. What she felt there made her gasp. There was pain, yes. The wound hurt terribly, but beneath the pain there was something else. Fear, but not for himself. He was not afraid of dying. He was afraid for her. He was terrified that she might have been hurt, that she might be in danger. And there was love. It was not the small, careful feeling she had sensed before. It was deep and powerful, a love that had grown quietly over the weeks they had spent together. He loved her. He truly loved her, and he had been willing to die to protect her. Nara felt tears streaming down her face. She held him, pressing her forehead against his. "Stay with me," she begged. "Please stay with me." "I am not going anywhere," he whispered. "I promise." The healers arrived and took him away. Nara watched them carry him, her hands still covered in his blood. Ah appeared beside her and wrapped her arms around her, but Nara barely felt it. All she could think about was what she had seen in his mind. All she could feel was the echo of his love, still warm inside her. The man she had feared had saved her life. The human she had thought was a monster had proven to be the kindest soul she had ever known. And in that moment, standing in the chaos of the great hall, Nara realized something that changed everything. She was falling in love with him too. The medical wing was quiet. Soft light filled the room, filtering through windows that looked out over the garden. Machines hummed gently, monitoring the patient who lay on the bed. And beside that bed, Nara sat in a chair, her eyes never leaving Ho's face. It had been 2 days since the attack. The healers said he was lucky. The shot had missed his heart by only a few inches. Human bodies, they discovered, were surprisingly strong. They healed faster than bodies. Ho would recover fully, they promised. But Nara could not stop worrying. She visited him every morning as soon as she woke up. She stayed until late at night, only leaving when Ah gently reminded her that she needed rest. She read to him when he was too weak to speak. She held his hand when he slept. She watched the rise and fall of his chest, grateful for every breath he took. At first she told herself she was there out of guilt. He had been hurt protecting her. It was her duty to be by his side. But as the days passed, she knew that was not the whole truth. She was there because she wanted to be. She was there because being away from him felt wrong. On the 3rd day, Ho was strong enough to sit up and talk. Nara helped him adjust his pillows, her hands gentle and careful. His shoulder was wrapped in bandages, but the color had returned to his face, and his eyes were bright again. "You have been here every day," he said. His voice was still a little weak but warm. "Of course I have." "You did not have to." Nara looked at him. "You saved my life. What kind of person would I be if I did not stay by your side?" Ho smiled softly. "You would still be a good person. You owe me nothing, Nara." She shook her head. "This is not about owing. I wanted to be here. She paused, struggling to find the right words. "I was scared. When you fell, when I saw all that blood, I thought I was going to lose you, and I realized that I did not want that. I did not want to live in a world without you in it." The words hung in the air between them. Ho's eyes softened with emotion. He reached out with his good hand and took hers. "I felt the same way," he admitted. "When I saw that weapon pointed at you, I did not think about myself. I only thought about protecting you. Nothing else mattered." Nara felt tears forming in her eyes. She blinked them away and squeezed his hand. "Why do you care about me so much? We barely know each other." "That is not true," Ho said. "I know you are kind even when you are afraid. I know you love your sister more than anything. I know you miss your mother and wish she was still here. I know you pretend to be strong, but inside you feel lonely. I know you love poetry and quiet gardens and the way the moons look at midnight." He paused. "I have been paying attention, Nara. Every moment we have spent together, I have been watching and learning, because I wanted to know you. I wanted to understand you." Nara felt her heart swell with emotion. No one had ever seen her so clearly before. Not her father, not the council, not anyone except but Ho saw her. He truly saw her. "Tell me about yourself," she said suddenly. "Not the formal things. Tell me who you really are." Ho was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he began to speak. He told her about his childhood on Earth, in a small town near the sea. He talked about running through the waves with his brother, catching fish with their bare hands, getting in trouble for staying out too late. He talked about his mother's cooking, how she made soup that could cure any sadness. He talked about his father, a quiet man who taught him that real strength was not about fighting, but about protecting what you loved. He told her about the wars, how he had been a young soldier, full of anger and fear, how he had seen terrible things and done things he was not proud of, how he had watched friends die and wondered if the fighting would ever end. And then he told her about the peace that came after, how he had chosen to become a diplomat instead of a warrior, how he had decided that his life's purpose was to prevent more wars, to build bridges between species instead of burning them down. "Humans are capable of great violence," he admitted. "I will not lie to you about that. We have dark parts in our history, terrible parts, but we are also capable of great love. We feel everything strongly, the bad and the good, and I have chosen to give my strength to the good." Nara listened without interrupting. When he finished, she reached up and touched his face gently. His skin was warm under her fingers. "You are a good man," she said. "I was so afraid when I first heard about this marriage. I thought I was being given to a monster, but you are not a monster. You are the kindest person I have ever met." Ho leaned into her touch. "I have to tell you something," he said quietly. "This marriage, if you do not want it, I will end it myself. I will go back to Earth and tell them the Alliance will have to find another way. Your happiness is more important than politics. Your freedom is more important than peace treaties." Nara stared at him. "You would do that? You would give up everything?" In a heartbeat. His eyes were completely serious. "I never wanted to trap you, Nara. I never wanted to take away your choices. If you want me to leave, I will leave. No arguments, no questions, just say the word." For a long moment, Nara did not speak. She looked at this man, this human who had given her every chance to walk away, who had studied her language and calmed his mind and taken a shot meant for her heart, who was offering her freedom even now, when he had every right to hold on to her. She thought about her fear, the fear she had carried for so long. It was still there, somewhere deep inside, but it was smaller now. It was quieter, and beside it something new was growing, something warm and strong and real. "I do not want you to leave," she whispered. "I want you to stay." Ho's face lit up with hope. "Are you sure?" Nara nodded slowly. "I am sure. For the first time since this all began, I am completely sure." She leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. Their breaths mingled in the quiet room. Outside, the twin moons were rising, casting silver light through the windows. "We will figure this out together," Nara said. "Whatever comes next, we will face it together." Ho closed his eyes and smiled. "Together," he agreed. "I like the sound of that." The wedding ceremony was only 3 days away. Nara stood in her room, looking at the ceremonial dress that hung on the wall. It was beautiful, made of silver and blue fabric that flowed like water. Tiny crystals were sewn into the cloth, catching the light and sparkling like stars. It was the dress her mother had worn on her own wedding day, passed down through generations. Nara touched the fabric gently. She should have felt happy. Ho was recovering well. The protests had calmed after the attack, and many people were starting to see the human ambassador in a new light. Everything was falling into place. But something still troubled her heart. She loved Ho. She knew that now, could feel it in every part of her being. But was love enough? Was she ready to bind herself to someone for the rest of her life? Was she strong enough to stand beside a human in a galaxy that still feared his kind? The questions spun in her mind like leaves in a storm. Ah found her there, staring at the dress with worried eyes. Her sister did not speak at first. She simply walked to Nara's side and stood with her, sharing the silence. "You are thinking too much," Ah finally said. "How can I not?" Nara asked. "This is the biggest decision of my life. Once I walk down that path, there is no going back." "Is that what frightens you, that you cannot change your mind?" Nara shook her head slowly. "No, what frightens me is that I do not want to change my mind. I love him, I truly love him, and that scares me more than anything." Ah took her hand. "Why does love scare you?" "Because love means opening yourself completely. It means trusting someone with your heart, with your future, with everything you are. What if I am wrong? What if he changes? What if I wake up one day and realize I made a mistake?" Her sister was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Do you remember what Mother told us about love before she died?" Nara felt a pain in her chest. She said many things. She said that love is not about certainty. It is about courage. We can never know for sure what the future holds. All we can do is choose the person we want to face that future with and trust that our choice was right. Nara closed her eyes. She could almost hear her mother's voice, soft and warm, speaking those words. "I miss her," Nara whispered. "I know, so do I." Ah squeezed her hand. "She would have liked Ho, I think. She always said that the best people are the ones who are kind when they do not have to be, and he has been kind to you from the very beginning." That night Nara went to the temple on the hill above the estate. It was an ancient place, built long before she was born, where they came to pray and meditate. Elder was waiting for her there, as she knew she would be. The old priestess had silver hair that fell to her waist and eyes that seemed to see beyond the present moment. She had known Nara since she was a child. She had blessed Nara's mother on her wedding day, and now she would do the same for Nara. "You are troubled," Elder said. It was not a question. Nara knelt before the altar, where candles burned with soft blue flames. "I am afraid." "Of what?" "Of making the wrong choice, of not being strong enough, of losing myself in this marriage." Elder sat beside her, her movements slow and graceful. "Those are honest fears, but let me ask you something. When you think of your life without this human, what do you feel?" Nara thought about the question. She imagined waking up in a world where Ho was not there, where there were no more letters, no more gifts, no more quiet conversations in the garden, where his calm presence was gone from her life forever. The thought made her heart ache. "I feel empty," she admitted, "like something important would be missing." Elder nodded slowly. "And when you think of your life with him, what do you feel?" Nara thought again. She imagined waking up beside him every morning, walking through the garden together, facing the challenges of the world with him by her side, growing old together, telling their story to children who would one day tell it to their own children. "I feel hope," she said. "I feel like anything is possible." The priestess smiled. "Then you already know your answer, child. You are not being asked to predict the future. You are being asked to choose your present, and your heart has already chosen." They sat together in silence for a long time, watching the candles flicker. When Nara finally stood, she felt lighter. The questions were still there, but they no longer felt so heavy. She could carry them now. She could face them. On the morning before the wedding, she had one more visitor. One, Ho's best friend from Earth, came to see her. He was a tall man with a quick smile and kind eyes, and he had been by Ho's side since they were young. "I hope I am not bothering you," he said. "I just wanted to tell you something before tomorrow." Nara nodded for him to continue. "I have known Ho for 20 years, one said. "I have seen him at his best and his worst. I have watched him struggle and succeed and fail. and I can tell you honestly that he has never loved anyone the way he loves you." Nara felt her heart skip. He volunteered for this mission, you know. He was not ordered to come here. When he heard about the arranged marriage, he asked to be the one chosen. He said that if someone had to do this, it should be someone who would take it seriously, someone who would treat the woman with respect and care. One paused, his eyes soft with memory. He spent 2 years preparing, learning your language, studying your customs, practicing meditation so his thoughts would not hurt you. He did all of this before he ever met you, before he knew what you looked like or who you really were. He did it because he believed you deserved someone who would try their best. Nara felt tears in her eyes. "I did not know that." "He would not tell you himself. He is too humble," one smiled. "But I wanted you to know, the man you are marrying is special. He will never stop trying to make you happy. He will never stop putting you first. That is just who he is." After one left, Nara returned to her room. She looked at her mother's dress one more time. The fear was still there, small and quiet in the corner of her heart, but beside it was something stronger now, something brighter. She was choosing this, not because the council ordered it, not because her father wanted it, not because of politics or alliances or peace treaties. She was choosing Ho because she loved him, and that love was worth any risk. Tomorrow she would walk toward her future, and for the first time in her life she could not wait to get there. The twin moons hung low in the evening sky, larger and brighter than Nara had ever seen them. The stars spread across the darkness like scattered diamonds. The air was cool and filled with the sweet smell of night-blooming flowers. It was a perfect night for a wedding. The ceremony was held in the ancient garden behind the temple, where her ancestors had married for 1,000 years. Lanterns floated in the air, casting soft golden light over the gathered crowd. Flowers of every color lined the stone path that led to the altar. Music played softly, a blend of melodies and human harmonies that seemed to dance together in the night. Hundreds of people had come to watch, council members in their formal robes, diplomats from Earth in their finest clothes, common people from the city who had once protested but now stood quietly, curious to see what would happen. Cameras floated above, broadcasting the ceremony across the galaxy. But Nara saw none of them. All she saw was Ho. He stood at the end of the path, waiting for her. His dark clothes were simple but elegant, and his wounded shoulder was hidden beneath the fabric. His face was calm, but his eyes were shining with emotion. When he saw her walking toward him, his breath caught visibly, and a smile spread across his face so pure and full of love that Nara felt tears forming in her eyes. She walked slowly, savoring each step. Ah walked beside her, holding her arm for support. Their father had offered to escort her, but Nara had chosen her sister instead. Ah had been with her through everything. It was only right that she be with her now. As Nara moved down the path, she remembered the fear she had felt when she first learned of this marriage. The terror, the despair, the belief that her life was ending. She remembered watching the human ship land and expecting a monster to emerge. She remembered hiding on the balcony, too afraid to face the man she was supposed to marry. And now here she was, walking toward him with joy in her heart. The path seemed both endless and too short. When she finally reached the altar, Ah kissed her cheek and stepped back. Nara turned to face Ho, and he took her hands in his. His skin was warm, his grip gentle but steady. "You look beautiful," he whispered. "You look nervous," she whispered back. He laughed softly, terrified but happy, the happiest I have ever been. Elder stepped forward to begin the ceremony. Her voice was clear and strong as she spoke the ancient words. She talked about the joining of two souls, the binding of two lives, the promise to face the future as one. She talked about courage and love and hope. When the time came for the vows, Ho spoke first. His voice was steady, but Nara could sense the emotion behind every word. "Nara, I came to your world expecting nothing. I hoped I could earn your respect. I dreamed I might earn your friendship, but I never imagined I would earn your love. You have given me more than I ever deserved. And I promise you here before your people and mine that I will spend the rest of my life being worthy of it. I will protect you when you need protection. I will stand back when you need space. I will laugh with you, cry with you, grow old with you. Whatever this life brings, I will face it at your side, always. Nara felt tears running down her cheeks. She did not bother to wipe them away. When it was her turn, she took a deep breath and looked into his eyes. Ho, I was afraid of you before we met. I believed the stories. I believed you would be cruel and violent and cold. But from the moment you arrived, you proved me wrong. You were kind when you had no reason to be. You were patient when I gave you nothing in return. You taught me that fear is not the opposite of love. Fear is just the wall we build around our hearts to protect ourselves from pain. And you, with your gentleness and your grace, helped me tear that wall down. She squeezed his hands. I choose you, not because I was told to, not because it was expected. I choose you because you are the person I want to wake up beside every morning. You are the person I want to talk to every night. You are the person I want to build a future with, whatever that future may hold. I love you, Ho, and I am so grateful that the universe brought you to me. Elder smiled and raised her hands. By the light of the twin moons and the blessing of the stars, I declare you bound. 2 souls, 1 path, 2 hearts, 1 love. From this day forward you walk together. The crowd erupted in cheers. Flowers were thrown into the air. Music swelled around them. But Nara and Ho stood still, looking only at each other. May I kiss you? He asked softly. She smiled. I have been waiting for you to ask. He leaned down and kissed her, gentle and slow. The crowd cheered louder. Somewhere in the distance, fireworks exploded in bursts of color across the sky. When they pulled apart, Ho pressed his forehead against hers. We did it, he said. We did, she agreed, and this is only the beginning. The celebration lasted long into the night. There was dancing and feasting and laughter. People who had once been enemies shared drinks and stories. Humans and sat together, learning about each other's cultures, finding common ground. At some point, Nara slipped away from the crowd. She walked to the edge of the garden, where a small balcony overlooked the valley below. The twin moons were directly overhead now, casting everything in silver light. Ho found her there a few minutes later. Are you all right? He asked, standing beside her. More than all right. She leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder, his arm wrapped around her, warm and secure. I was just thinking about my mother, wishing she could have been here. I think she was, Ho said quietly, in some way watching over you. Nara smiled. Maybe you are right. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the moons and the stars. Somewhere behind them the celebration continued. But here, in this quiet moment, there was only peace. What happens now? Nara asked. Ho thought about the question. Now we build something new together. We show the galaxy that humans can be more than allies. We can be family. That is a big responsibility. It is, but I am not worried. He looked down at her with those warm, kind eyes that she had come to love so much. We have something stronger than politics or treaties. We have each other. Nara reached up and touched his face. She felt his love through her inner sense, bright and warm and endless. And she let him feel hers in return, opening her heart completely for the first time in her life. I am home, she whispered in his language. It was the first human phrase she had learned, practiced in secret for this moment. Ho's eyes widened with surprise and joy. Then he smiled, that beautiful, gentle smile that had first made her question everything she thought she knew about humans. Welcome home, he said. And as the twin moons shone down upon them, Nara knew that she had finally found where she belonged. Not in a place, not in a world, but in the arms of the man she loved. The fear was gone now, completely and forever. In its place was something far more powerful. Hope, love, and a new beginning.